Hello, adorable charms. You're most welcome to Everything Literature, where you get to learn about everything concerning drama, prose, the most inspiring poetry. Take a seat and enjoy it.
Not all is as it seems, for look can be deceitful, and words do not often reveal the true intent of the heart. To understand both the said and the unsaid, you may have to stand under the covering of figures of speech. Once again, you're most welcome to Everything Literature, and our focus for today's class will be on figures of speech based on indirectness or oppositeness. And specifically, we'll take a look at innuendo, irony, sarcasm, periphrasis, euphemism, and litotes. Figures of speech. He ran fast. This is a literal statement. But when we have it as he ran like the wind, this is a figurative statement because we are comparing he, that is a person, to a wind. Hence, a figure of speech is a way or style of expression which is different and more creative from the ordinary use of words. In terms of the usefulness, figures of speech are used in our expressions to add deeper meaning and interest to words, to give imaginative pleasure, to bring an additional imagery, or to add emotional intensity, to concrete the meaning in a brief compass, that is the meaning of a word, to make it more succinct. And as a device used in writing, figures of speech are used in communication for the sake of emphasis, clarity, creativity, rhythm, novelty, peculiarity, style, and so on. Over time in our previous classes, we already established that figures of speech can be divided into two, which are trope and scheme. For trope refers to the set of figures of speech in which the use of a word or a phrase changes the meaning of a sentence. The word trope comes from the Greek tropos, meaning turn, that is, turning the meaning of a sentence another way by the way a word is being used. Okay? Scheme comes from the Greek schema, meaning form or shape. Scheme refers to the set of figures of speech concerned with a change in the usual order of words. Scheme deals with the arrangement of words based on order, letters, syntax, and sound. But having already established in our previous classes that so far we're not going to work with tropes and scheme for the fundamental level, we're just going to work with the 7 classifications of figures of speech for now. Okay, so the 7 classifications of figures of speech that we have been looking at or making use of over time were figures of speech based on similarity and agreement, which we have 2 major types under that: simile and metaphor. We have figures based on sound, where we have onomatopoeia, alliteration, consonants, assonance, paronomasia, or pun. Then we have figures based on association, typology, metonymy, synecdoche. Figures based on difference, epigram, oxymoron, antithesis, climax, anticlimax, paradox. Then figures based on imagination, we have personification, pathetic fallacy, apostrophe, hyperbole, allusion. Then we have figures based on indirectness. Oppositeness will be the focus for today's class. We have innuendo, irony, sarcasm, periphrasis, euphemism, and litotes. Figures based on indirectness or oppositeness. Indirectness is a way of conveying a message through hints, insinuations, questions, gestures, or circumlocutions, not proceeding straight to the point or to an object. That's the concept of indirectness. It is not proceeding straight to the point. Okay. Specifically, we already established that we'll be taking a look at innuendo, which is more or less like a hint or a pointer at a person or thing craftily. Okay. We have irony, which is a contrast between what is expected and what actually happens. Sarcasm, it is a gentler way to criticize with indirectness, so you get to criticize someone without them actually knowing that you're criticizing them. Okay, the next one we have periphrasis, which simply means beating around the bush, saying a word with much description. it is what you can actually say with a word. You are using much description. Euphemism. Euphemism has to do with saying something unpleasant in a pleasant way. And litotes has to do with the use of no or not to understate an opinion. It is actually the opposite of hyperbole, one of the figures of speech we discussed in our previous class. So what is innuendo? The word innuendo comes from the Latin innuere, meaning to signal or to suggest or to hint. This figure of speech is known as insinuation. An innuendo is a hint or a veiled pointer. Okay, there's a pointer, but it's veiled at a person or a thing. It involves a witty way of making a rude or insulting comment without necessarily saying it. Let's break it down. To detect innuendo, one has to read between the lines of a given expression. So you don't just read a line and expect that you're going to get it right up. You have to read between the lines, in between the lines actually. The use of "if you know what I mean" is a common way to signal to people that you're using innuendo. While innuendos, euphemism, and double entendre all deals with the playful use of words, there are differences between these devices. Okay, let's take this situation for example. Mark had to miss work on Friday. One co-worker uses euphemism and the other one is going to make use of innuendo. Okay, now for someone who makes use of euphemism, Mark has been feeling a little under the weather and he will have to miss work today. Now, a little under the weather is an euphemism for sick, substituting the image of someone throwing up or sneezing with a softer image. Okay. However, for another co-worker who is going to make use of innuendo, it will be in this form. It seems strange that Mark has missed work on a Friday of all days. Now, when you hear Mark has missed work on a Friday of all days, this somehow implies that Mark's reason for missing work is not sickness, but wanting to enjoy a 3-day weekend. Perhaps he's not really sick, or taking a nice trip, or going to a concert, or watching TV. That's the use of innuendo there. So it's more or less like trying to make an insulting comment about Mark, but not necessarily stating it to be obvious. Okay, so let's look at some further examples of innuendo. Okay, we have "a word is a noun for the wise." So when you say this to a person, it's more or less like indirectly telling them, "Don't be a fool." Okay, "I never consult doctors, for I hope to die without them." Okay, so it's more or less like trying to underplay the importance of visiting hospitals or visiting doctors. Should we be expecting manna during the test? So it's more or less like an indirect way of telling a friend or a teacher or a tutor that, "Oh, are you trying to, should we be expecting assistance during the test?" More or less like trying to indirectly insinuate examination malpractice. Okay, "I have urged you to be a sensible man, Mr. Hill. I hope you will leave some of it in silence." And this is one of the statements, a dialogue by Dr. in the Crucible by Arthur Miller. Okay, I love this because when I read this in the text, I was like, "Oh, this man trying to tell Mr. L that we have a lot of sensible or foolish people in Salem, and he's trying to tell Mr. Hill that, oh, please do us a favor by leaving some of your senses in Salem." Next, we move to irony. What is irony? The word irony comes from the Greek eirhonia, which means dissembler. Irony is a literal device in which the underlying meaning of a statement or a situation is in contrast with what is apparent. This figure of speech makes a deliberate attempt of saying the exact opposite of what one intends to say. The words are not to be taken literally. Okay, so take a look at this example. The teacher taught the students very well that they all failed. So that's indirectly saying the opposite, that teacher didn't really teach them very well. Okay, his hands are so long that they cannot even touch his ears. Okay, so he's literally trying to say maybe the person is short, or the person is having a very short hand, that even their hands could not, his hands rather, could not touch his ears. Okay, so let's break it down. We have three basic types of irony, although we have some other types of irony. And the three basic types of irony that we have are verbal irony, which means what is said is different from what is meant. It's saying the opposite of what you mean. Dramatic irony means the reader knows something the characters do not know. Situational irony refers to a situation where the outcome is different from the expected. Okay, now this is sometimes called structural irony. Now, take note, irony is closely linked to sarcasm because verbal irony is one of the components of sarcasm. Sarcasm is utilized to mock someone or something. However, irony is different in the sense that not all verbal irony is used to ridicule. Okay, so it's not all verbal irony that is used to ridicule as we have in sarcasm, because sarcasm is strictly to ridicule. Okay, therefore, it does not carry with it a negative connotation as a sarcasm does. So it's not all the time that irony, verbal irony, gets to have a negative connotation the way a sarcasm does. Then we have the real deal. What is sarcasm? Sarcasm comes from the Greek words sark, meaning flesh, and asmos, meaning to tear or rip. The word itself is derived from the Greek sarkasmos, which means to tear flesh, bite the lips in a range or snare. So it employs contempt, bitterness, and sheer ridicule in expressing the irony without concealing anything. So sarcasm is more or less like the advanced form of irony. So take for examples, we have, tell me something I don't know. You have been so helpful. Imagine, this room of yours is just so neat. Was there a lack of grave in Egypt that you took us away to die in the wilderness? Okay, so now take note. Sarcasm can be used as both a literal and rhetorical device. Sarcasm is utilized to mock someone or something. This figure of speech is closely linked to irony. The difference is that sarcasm is used without disguise. Verbal irony is one of the components of sarcasm. It just means saying the opposite of what one means. Verbal irony is always a feature of sarcasm. Again, verbal irony plus the tone of voice makes this sarcasm. And sarcasm has a two-faced quality. It is funny and mean. It is a gentler way to criticize with indirectness. So when you hear expressions such as, you have been so helpful, that's an indirect statement. You're indirectly insulting the person. That's your presence has not really been helpful at all. Okay? Ability to recognize sarcasm is an essential soft skill to function in this modern society that banks on irony. Because in this present world, we have the use of sarcasm a lot, and you need that as an essential soft skill to function well in this present-day society. What is periphrasis? Periphrasis from the Greek language peri and phrasein. Peri meaning around and phrasein meaning declare. Periphrasis is also called circumlocution. It is a situation whereby the fact is not made known directly, hence it is a roundabout way of speaking, that is a form of beating about the bush or not hitting the nail on the head. Circumlocution is the use of many words or indirect reference to express something instead of directly addressing it through minimum words. Periphrasis is a type of verbosity, to say less with more. Examples: Holy Mother of Jesus is a circumlocution of Holy Mary, or simply Mary. Our olfactory system was suffering from a temporal inconvenience. The above sentence can simply be expressed as a nose was blocked. So the whole olfactory system has just description of nose, and suffering from a temporal inconvenience. That's just telling us that nose was blocked. Okay, so let's have a thorough breakdown of these and these models that can accept. I had no idea what had occurred to me when I first met you. It would take my gaze away from your face, like it were a small dispel. Your laughter made my entire day. One look at you was all I needed, like a daily medication for my smile. But all I could think about was how this peak could one day turn into eternity. And here you are today, the love of my life, right in front of me. Now, save us all this story, because what the person is trying to communicate in essence is that I love you. That's the smaller version of the above sentence. Okay? So the whole description, I have no idea of what has happened to me, it's like a spell, your laughter. It's just trying to communicate, I love you. Okay, so it's just like a longer way of saying something that is obviously short, that you can express in a short form. Okay, but you decide to say it with more descriptions. Okay, what is euphemism? Euphemism is from the Greek word euphemo, meaning good speech. This figure of speech expresses an unpleasant truth in such a way that it will be less offensive but agreeable as well. Take for example, the company has decided to let you go. Okay, this is more or less like an euphemism. An euphemism to saying you're fired. You fell into a long-lasting sleep. Oh, more or less like when a child is asking, where is grandpa? And you decide to tell the child, oh, grandpa has fallen into a long-lasting sleep. Oh, really? You mean grandpa slept and he's going to be sleeping for a while? And you say, yes. But the real sense means death. Okay. Jimmy was sent to a correctional facility. A correctional facility is a more professional or nicer sounding phrase than jail or prison. So when you hear correctional facility, it's almost like, okay. When you hear, compared to when you hear jail or prison, it's almost like, wow, really? God, who's going to save him there? Okay, so let's break it down. There are situations in life that may be quite difficult, unpleasant, or embarrassing to discuss or tell directly to certain people in our lives, either because we want to avoid awkward moments of truth, public disgrace, or unnecessary disclosure of a certain matter. However, if the need arises that we must relate whatever the situation or state of affair may be, we oftentimes have to employ euphemism. It's just a creative way of downplaying or softening the harsh effect of certain situations on a person's psychology. What is litotes? Litotes, this can be regarded as an antonym of hyperbole. It is an understatement. It is a figure of speech in which a person uses a negative statement to enforce the positive. The negative indicator often used are no and not. Litotes is used for the sake of emphasis. So let's take a look at some examples. This is no trivial issue. That is, this is a very serious issue. I don't deny that it was wrong. So it's more or less like saying I admit that it was wrong. Okay? He is not without his reasons for living. He has his reasons for living. So you notice the use of no and not, although some of the not are actually contracted from the don't. Okay, it simply means do not, is not, something like that. Okay, I'm a citizen of no mean country. This implies a very important nation. So if we break it down, litotes is a special form of verbal irony. There we go again. So these figures of speech are quite interrelated or intertwined. Okay, like litotes, verbal irony is a figure of speech in which the statement expressed is a contrary to what is meant. Okay, the basic example of litotes is the phrase "not bad." You ask some of your friends, "How's your day?" Yeah, phrases such as "not bad." Okay, by negating the word "bad," you are saying that something is good or at least okay. Okay, litotes is pretty simple in the way it works. Instead of stating something directly, it states the contrary statement is not true. Typically, the contrary statement will be phrased as some sort of superlative. For example, he is not the sharpest tool in the shed. Okay, now putting the not with the word sharpest, more or less like downplaying the word sharpest. Okay, Litotes must contain a negative statement. This is actually a very important feature of Litotes because you must have the word not or no in order to indicate that it is Litotes. And with this, we've come to the end of the class. Figures of speech based on indirectness is a way of conveying a message through hints, insinuations, questions, gestures, or circumlocutions. That is, not proceeding straight to the point or pointing straight to an object. We discussed on innuendo, irony, sarcasm, periphrasis, euphemism, and Litotes. Now, when we talk about what involves a witty way of making a rude or insulting comment without necessarily saying it as innuendo, remember that. A deliberate attempt of saying the opposite of what one intends to say or doing the opposite of one intends to do, that's irony. Okay? Yeah, when it has to do with employing contempt, bitterness, and sheer ridicule in expressing an irony without concealing anything. Okay, this is the advanced level of irony. Then we're talking about sarcasm. Okay, and when we talk about periphrasis, it is a type of verbosity. That is something you can say with a word. You start to use about 20-50 words in the same thing. Okay, here we make use of description, adjectives, like that. Okay, to express an unpleasant truth in such a manner that will be less offensive and agreeable. That's euphemism. So instead of saying grandpa has died, it could be grandpa has kicked the bucket when you want to make it less offensive to a grandchild. Okay, the use of a no or not to use a negative statement to enforce the positive, and we're talking about Litotes. Okay, and with this, we've come towards the end of the class. Do well to go through the assessments. If you love this video, do well to give a like, share with your friends, and if you're yet to subscribe, please, it doesn't, click on the subscription button and also click on the notification bell just to get notified whenever any video is being released. Okay, see you in the next class.